So you've started shooting videos for yourself, for companies, for creators, for influencers, for, well, just pay or income. And you've come to the point where you're looking at upping your game or increasing the ability for you to adapt to certain situations. And you want to shoot with a camera that has, maybe a field monitor, a couple different handles or grips, some attachments. So the logical choice for everybody, is to go and get a cage. I recommend SmallRig cages just because for the price and the quality, it's sort of in the middle. You could go and get, a couple other brands that are much higher end, and you're gonna get some features that are cool, and maybe the machining is probably a little bit better. But at the end of the day, you're not gonna necessarily see a lot of increase of quality or usability with those products. If you're shooting with a camera that's inexpensive and you're on a budget, a cage probably isn't the first thing to get. You want to make sure you have good lenses first, and then move the body up as you go. You want to make sure you have a good microphone, and you want to make sure at the end of the day you have enough storage. SD cards, hard drives, external hard drives. Those After that, if you're looking to create videos and have a little more control of what you're doing, maybe have a little more stabilized feel to your videos by just hand holding, because I'm a big fan of hand holding, run and gun shooting, tripods locked off, giant rigs. It drives me nuts. So I'm looking at something that I can have everything I need built into my handheld rig. From there, again, I would recommend a SmallRig Cage, and I can walk you through what I'm currently and have been shooting for the last year with my Sony. So, this giant monstrosity is a Sony A7iii. I believe for the money, it's the best camera you can get right now. You can find them on sale anywhere from $1,300 to $1,600, depends who's selling it. It was originally a $2,000 body. It's a full frame, 4K, 24 megapixel camera, so it can do photos, it can do video. It'll do 30 frames a second at 4K. It will do 120 for 1080p, so you can get slow-mo in it. It doesn't do 4K 60, but it also does incredible low light. It works with all the Sony E-mount glass that's full frame. You can adapt Canon lenses to it. You can adapt old school lenses through an E-mount adapter. There's a lot of good things about it, and it's also just a really good system. So you have 2 SD card slots, on and on and on. I can go into the camera itself later, but we're not focusing on that. What I have
are a very particular set of skills.
Is a SmallRig Cage attached to this camera. And the reason I put a cage on it is, one, to protect my camera, so when I'm running around, I can bump into things and it's not the camera body. So again, that helps with resale value, that helps with keeping your gear alive, because we all know that we've killed some kind of electronic in our life. And it's usually because it's not protected, or we're just trying to do something that maybe is a little risky for that piece of equipment. Now, from there, I have a top handle, like so. The top handle is mainly just because when you grab a camera and you want to shoot low, if you want to shoot low, down below your waist, it's not really great to hold it at the side and bend over and have really bad ergonomics. You're gonna pretty much die in the middle of the shoot. From there, just spin you around, and we'll put it on this spinny turntable. So we have our Rode Video Micro, which I know there's probably higher quality microphones. This is a scratch audio, aka it can be used, but it's usually not the main audio source. We have our Tamron 28-75 lens with a ND and Polarizing filter combo, so that's a pretty sweet deal. We have the mount for our tripod if we need it. We have the Atomos Ninja 5 recorder, so we can put SSDs in the back if we want to record. If not, it's a great field monitor. It's powered by Sony batteries. So then that HDMI cable goes to our camera, so we can view everything nice and neat. We can adjust the monitor. If we're shooting low, we can look down on top of it. And then lastly, there is a side handle, which a lot of these come with just a screw mount kit. I'm a bigger fan of everything being a NATO mount. And what NATO means, well, what NATO, I don't know what the actual acronym means, but NATO just means it's a clamp-based system rather than screws. And as you probably have found, the things that screw mount into your camera eventually wiggle or rotate, and so then everything isn't aligned, which if you're trying to shoot very stable footage and everything is kind of just jiggly, it drives you nuts. The big innovation out of all of this, because none of this is unique to me, I've built this based on everybody else's suggestions and tips and things. The unique thing though is that Sony, up until the newest A7S III, has had a micro HDMI output to their monitors, to whatever you want to connect. And what that means, as I about drop my camera, is that you have this tiny little connector, which is basically, you can see that, that's basically the size of a USB micro USB. My monitor does regular HDMI here, and you can kick it out to another source. But A7S IIIs have now moved to the full HDMI output. The problem being with micro HDMI, and if you've seen Sony shooters, the main problem with this camera and the ones before it's the A7 III, the A7R III, the A7 II, the A7R II, the A7, the A7S II, and the A7S, all of those have a micro HDMI port. And so what I've come up with a solution to solve this problem of breaking ports, which I believe the port to fix is, I think it's like $300 or $400, because they have to go in and resolder everything and maybe even just give you a new board. A $300 or $400 repair that happens often from just bumping the end of the connector. So imagine that this guy is plugged into your camera and all you do is just bump the end. Like you've seen this with smartphones. If you've ever owned an Android phone or anything not Apple with the lightning port, the micro USBs usually, the port usually gets broken. And I used to work at a cell phone store, so we would have, that would be our number one broken item behind screens, was the cable port. They would go to charge it, it'd be in their car, it'd be at home, someone would drop it, run into it, wedge it against something, and then their port would snap. And so what that means is death to your phone, because the port is basically permanently attached to the board. Basically you have to buy a new phone. With this, it might be a separate board, but it's attached to the board of your camera, so you're effectively having them swap a whole part just to fix that one connector. Long story short, no one has solved this problem. Sony actually just went and replaced the micro HDMI with a full-size HDMI, just because I think they're probably getting enough complaints from people breaking these, being very concerned, and just the fact that nobody really likes this connector. It's been a thing for a while and I've never seen anybody like it. How do you solve this micro HDMI port problem if you don't have the A7S III, if you have all the cameras before the A7S III? Well, a lot of the solution is basically getting this clamp that you attach to your SmallRig Cage, and the clamp basically smushes the cable, and it's mounted by 1 or 2 bolts, and it kind of jiggles a little bit, and it's not really purpose built. So I went and spent probably 4 or 5 days designing the solution for me, and especially you guys who have all of these Sony cameras, because I want to save your HDMI ports from being wrecked, from you being able to do work and being able to use a monitor, because I think a lot of people don't want to use a field monitor on a Sony are afraid that the cable is gonna snap. And I know that's probably a very small amount of you, but there is that risk of like, I don't want to use it because it's gonna just be a problem or it's a pain in the butt. So here's what we've done. This is an entire bracket for your camera and it attaches through the SmallRig spots. And what it is it's this. It's a 3D printed system. So your your microphone port here, you can see that, goes, and so you can connect out a cable. So this is meant for L cables, which most people are shooting if they have a Rode Video Micro, a Rode Video Mic. All those cameras use an L style microphone. And then you also get the mounting holes here. So 3 mounting holes, because 3 points of contact with cameras is important. 3 points of contact with rigidity is important. Triangles and all that good stuff. And then you get all of the ports for your camera right here. Now, why I did this and not clamp systems is that the problem isn't that a cable can't be pushed, because this cable behind this header, you can easily flex it. It's not going to break. There's nothing wrong with it. The problem is that this connector right here, this connector is not meant to flex. And so most of the times you're getting your stress into this connector and it snaps right there, or it snaps inside of the camera. So what I'm doing is I'm negating the flex of the parts that are inflexible and moving all of the stress into the part that is supposed to be flexible, the cable. And so obviously with this, it's a spring cable that's even better. So you got a little coil to reduce resistance and just issues that way. But the best part is that you can use the micro HDMI, you can use the USB ports, you can use the headphone jack, you can use the USB-C jack, all. And it doesn't matter if you use one of those cables or all the cables. You can just connect them in, and you don't need to worry about clamps. You don't need to worry about what you're connecting that day. The only thing that you have to worry about is obviously the size of each cable connector. If you have a headphone cable that's really thick, you would obviously have to buy something thinner because this is all low profile. But at the end of the day, you get to use all of your cables, all of your ports, and you don't have to worry about running into stuff. And even better, hold please, I have to connect this for you. All of them are labeled as well. So there's the USB, there's the power USB-C port, there is the video or HDMI port, and there is a headphone jack, if you can see that. And so what we do is we just simply go in and connect this cable, if I had it the right way around. Boom. Now, if I run into stuff, see this? If I run into something, the flex is where this actual flex that they've built into the cable goes. And the best part is that if you're using cables and you go to put your camera down, typically the cable will then even have weight on it too. With this, I put a knuckle in this system, so even the headphone jack is covered, but what it allows you to do is it allows you to lean your camera and have less stress on those top connectors. Now obviously if you're charging and doing stuff on the bottom connectors, I didn't want to make the experience of hand holding or adapters or tripods on the bottom to be affected, so I didn't want to put a knuckle there. So you'll have to watch out if you're connecting or charging your camera or transferring files through USB-C, or maybe you have a controller that you're doing the record button or triggering through that. Now, do I think this is the best product on the market? Of course I do, because it doesn't exist. So the only product is the best product until someone comes up with something. And I look through going through SmallRig and those other companies as far as working with them, and they don't really offer the ability to have me benefit from designing. They offer me a free one. If you have an A7R3 or an A7 III, buy this for your SmallRig cage. Now, if you don't have a SmallRig cage, I can't guarantee it's going to fit, just because they all have different holes and different placements. So I'm going to be selling these for $25. It's a solid 3D 3D printed piece of plastic. It's not hollow or anything like that, so it's going to stand up. Case in point, it's rigid. But I've been rocking this on my camera for about 6 to 8 months. It's been in bags, it's been traveling, it's been set down, dropped, all those kinds of things. And this actual unit, this one in particular, has been the one that I've been using. Now, you need to buy the appropriate bolts for your camera. Those are sold through SmallRig. So if you have them already, you just slap it on, you tighten it, you're good to go. If not, I will link below which ones you need to buy. But yeah, guys, instead of $400 repairs or just kind of not being able to put your camera in risky situations, which is, I believe, the best way to get good shots, is putting yourself and your camera in a situation that no one else wants to be in. $25, guys, for this. Save your camera, save your workflow, just save the fact that you don't have to worry about your camera being busted by someone maybe setting it down for you. I've had that happen a lot. But yeah, $25. I'm going to make these available. We're going to see how many people want them. That's shipped to your door as long as you're in the US. If you're not, message me. We'll figure it out. But I hope this helps all of you Sony shooters out there. Look for the A7S3 edition, because even if it's full HDMI, I want the practicality of being able to bump my camera as hard as possible and not have things break. Thank you for watching this video. Check in the link below to buy these, to buy the bolts. If you want to know what I'm shooting with, I'll link all those below as well. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye. But check these out, $25. I'll link them below. Share with whoever, share with everybody. I want a bunch of people to be able to run and gun and not break their Just kidding. See ya.